Hello, my friends. I am Jessica from I Read to Relax. Welcome back. I'm here today because I wanted to share with you my reads from the month of July. I was actually able to read 11 books on paper. So I thought I would just go through and share with you what they were and how I liked them. Let's dive right in. So I always read a mix of audiobooks, ebooks, physical books, so I figured I would just go by category to make things easier. So the reason that I said at the beginning of the video that technically I read 11 in the month of July, but in my heart it's 10, is because I listened to the audiobook of Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, which is book 4 in the Stormlight Archive, and these are behemoth books. They're fantastic. Everyone pretty much 5 stars, but they are super long audiobooks. So I essentially end up devoting like an entire month to the audiobook. And basically I listened to Rhythm of War for the entire month of June, and then it just spilled like 2 days into July. So it counts as a July book, but was primarily read in June. So that's my 10 and a half books, we'll say. Yeah. So after I finish Rhythm of War, I like to do a little like palette cleansing between the Stormlight Archive books because they are so long. So before I was going to dive into book 5, I was like, I'll throw in, a short audiobook. So I listened to A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. And this is my first ever T. Kingfisher book, and I loved it. It is classified as a cozy fantasy, and I do feel like it had very strong elements of like that heartwarming, charming, cute fantasy. I mean, it's about a girl whose magic is related to being able to do things with baking. I also found that there were higher stakes than I expected. This book was charming and heartwarming, and I really loved it, but it was also partially because it was more intense than I expected. So that was great. I definitely plan to check out more from T. Kingfisher in the future. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I'll throw another quick audiobook in. I happen to have both the physical copy of Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. I don't want to say I was disappointed in this one because I really, really, really loved the concept. The story idea is great. I just found that the execution for me was a little more gruesome than I expected. It definitely had some like graphic descriptions of slightly yucky things that I kind of wished I could just skim over, and as I was listening primarily to the audiobook, that was a little difficult. So it was one I enjoyed overall, and I would recommend it to a certain type of reader, but not every reader. So then, because I forgot I had pre-ordered and absolutely adore, I snuck in another audiobook before jumping into the most recent Stormlight Archive book. So Nalini Singh's new book, Atonement Sky, came out in July, and I will drop everything to read the books in this series. I absolutely love the Psy Changeling Trinity books. And they're interconnected standalone romances. There is a giant overarching sort of like timeline of events happening in this world, but they're individual stories of, a couple in each. And I was a little surprised I didn't feel super invested in the beginning of this one, and I can't tell if part of it was that the main female character has been essentially traumatized and like they call it conditioned, so reconditioned to the point that she doesn't really experience human emotions anymore. Like, her emotions are shut off, literally. And she's like numb to the world, and I think that bled so heavily through that I almost felt like it was robotic in the beginning. But about a third of the way into the book, I became fully invested and I was in all the way through to the end. So not my favorite in the series, but again, by the end of this book, I was crying. I was thoroughly invested. I was so excited when they got together. There's a secondary set of characters that I also got very intensely into. So Nalini Singh never disappoints. All right, so those were my audiobooks for July. Then I'm gonna give you my physical books, and then I'll jump into the ebooks at the end. So for physical books, I finally read book 3 in the Stones and Curses trilogy by Alyssa Bolts. This is Marked for Ruin. And this is about a girl, Nora, who starts out the series believing that she's cursed. Every time somebody makes a wish, the worst possible thing happens and she cannot escape it. And it turns out that she has jinn blood and gets deep into that whole world. And it turns out that she's like a supreme catalyst for change in this world. So it had been a while since I read the first and second books in the series, and I was definitely afraid that I would forget things. And it took a second in the beginning for me to sort of get back into the right headspace. But then, like, this book, high stakes from start to finish, utterly gripped, funny, sad, happy. Like, I went through the gamut of emotions. They are fairly short books, and it was over in a blink, and I enjoyed every second of it. So what a way to go out on a bang in this series. I recommend these. Next book was Heart Song by TJ Klune, which is the third book in the Green Creek series. And these are male werewolf romances. So if not your thing, that's fine. But I tell you what, TJ Klune knows how to rip your heart out. I honestly think so far this is my favorite book in the series. Book 1 was amazing. Book 2 was amazing. This one, amazing. I'm very, very excited for the last book, Brother Song. Yes, Brother Song. But these books, like, he captures the inner monologue of grief and loneliness and heartache and insecurity so deeply, so intensely. They are, I mean, this is a stellar book series. So yes. I'll just keep gushing forever. The last physical book that I read in the month of July was Love of the Witch by Deanna Chase. And this is, I believe, book 6. Yeah, book 6 in the Witches of Keating Hollow series. And it had been so long since I actually purchased this book that I forgot what it was about. And when I read the synopsis, I was not super jazzed to read it. I really like this type of book, and I like Deanna Chase's writing so much. This particular book in the series just didn't have like a hook that I was really into. And I've got 2 more, books 7 and 8, on my shelves that I had read the synopses and I was like, oh, these sound way more exciting. Maybe I'll just skip this one. But I had pulled it, it was on my TBR, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start it, and if I decide I want to DNF it, that's fine. This one, I feel like the synopsis was somewhat deceiving, because when I started reading this book, there is a hook, and it pulled me in so much deeper than I expected, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I read it like basically overnight, like 2 sittings, but they were super quick back to back, and I cried quite a bit in this one, and it was lovely. It was lovely. That's the word I would use for it. So it really turned out to be a great addition to the series. So this is another author I should have just sort of trusted, because I enjoy every book she writes, and I should have known. We'll leave it at that. Yeah. So then I read a couple of ebooks as well during the month, and I will share those with you now. So for, again, series that I absolutely love, I read the next book in the Portlock Paranormal Detective series. And this one is The Vamp and the Case of the Malvolent. I can never figure out how to say this word. Malvolent mermaid. If that was completely butchered, I apologize. I'm gonna have to look up how to pronounce that word properly. But this one, Bunny, the main character, is a woman who was turned against her will into a vampire. And she had to flee from England to Alaska so that she would not have to serve basically as a slave to the Vampire King of England. And when she got there, she discovered that she actually had some great skills that allowed her to become a detective. And so every book in this series is like essentially a murder mystery. And the characters are phenomenal. The mysteries are great. This is Heather G. Harris and Jillian Dolbear, and they are a great author duo. So I love this series. Loved this one. Again, start at the beginning. I highly recommend this series. After that, I read the novella Seize the Chance, and this is the prequel novella to the North Carolina Magic series, I think that's, I'm gonna put the cover here, so if I'm wrong about the series title, you can correct me. But this is a new urban fantasy series from Silas Reams, who, again, I greatly enjoy her books, her series. And this one is set in the same world as one of her other series, which I devoured. Absolutely love the Shifter Vengeance series. But this takes place in a different part of the US, and there's a crossover character that I'm really excited about, but this is a different, main character. She is a naiad. She's a naiad, and she works as a basically like underwater guide for tourists to go see sunken ships, etc. And it allows her to utilize some of her gifts without being basically caught out. And her best friend owns a bar in the seaside town, and a body shows up on the beach behind the bar. And this was a great little prequel. I'm really excited to dive into the first actual book in the series when it comes out, I think next year. But I loved this one. So also read this month, I was trying to give myself something a little bit different, and I decided to try this one, and it was Bad Summer People. And I'm glad I read it. It was something different, and it was quick, but I didn't love it. And I don't know if it was the writing style. But the way this one was set up was a young boy on the island finds a dead body. And then, you spend quite a bit of the book trying to figure out whose dead body was it, because it goes back in time and then like is leading you up to that event. There's a lot of different characters and they're all doing bad-ish things. There's a variety of like how bad they are. One of the things I didn't love that like every chapter for like at least the first half of the book was from somebody else's perspective. So the story moved along, like every bit sort of built upon the last bit and the timeline kept moving forward. But you got like a snippet from this person's life, a snippet from that person's life, a snippet from this person's life. It felt like, for me, it was hard to really get invested in any one person because almost nobody felt like a redeemable character, because I don't know if I wasn't in the mood, if it's not my kind of book, if I didn't like the writing style. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but this was not my favorite book. And again, then the very last book that I read in the month of July was another banger. Oh my God. So I read Thorns and Fire by Helen Schurer. And this is book 2 in the Ashes of Thesmar series, which is a spin-off from the original Legends of Thesmar series. One of Ashes of Thesmar, which is Iron and Embers, follows Thea's sister, follows Ren and Torge, and starts their story arc. I just love Ren's character so hard. So hard. So she's an alchemist. She goes to a secret alchemy academy where they become like masters of poison. There's trials, and then there's like massive, again, world events that become sort of like cataclysmic. And there's always, like this epic love story. And this particular series and couple is just hitting all the sweet spots. So I loved Thorns and Fire. And I believe the third book is Silver and Smoke. And I cannot wait. July was a pretty great reading month. I'm hoping August is the same. Let me know if you've read any of these and if you loved them or hated them. If you have recommendations for other cozy fantasies that might give me sort of a better intro into sort of what defines a cozy fantasy, I'd love that. And then if you read something similar to like Bad Summer People, that might be another book I could try, let me know. Because like I said, I definitely want to try at least one more sort of like that and see if it works or not. So otherwise, I will be back eventually to tell you guys about my August reads and see how I did with my August TBR. So for now, I hope you have a fantastic end of the summer reading, and we're all getting ready for cozy fall.